As you know, the SEC has been recently very active in trying to regulate cryptocurrency exchanges and cryptocurrencies. In recent months, they have filed lawsuits against Coinbase and Binance, which are some of the largest crypto exchanges, and they also said that they consider 68 cryptocurrencies to be securities. But while the SEC has been cracking down on all these cryptocurrency exchanges and cryptocurrencies, Blackrock, world's largest asset manager, has filed for a spot Bitcoin ETF. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how this is going to affect the price of Bitcoin. And it's not the first attempt by some of the largest asset managers out there trying to apply for a spot Bitcoin ETF. The SEC has denied all of these applications for the past 6 or 7 years. Just to name a few, Winklevoss twins, the founders of Gemini, got denied in 2017 with their first spot Bitcoin ETF application, and then they got denied again in 2018. Then we have Grayscale, Fidelity, VanEck. All of them got denied, with the SEC citing market manipulation and questioning the reliability of the Bitcoin market. But the BlackRock's spot ETF application, in my opinion, has higher chances. Firstly, because they promised the SEC that they have a variety of measures that they can use to prevent market manipulation.
Trust me.
And second, due to its previous ETF success rate with the SEC, which is 575 to 1, meaning that out of 576 ETF applications that they filed with the SEC, they got approved 575 times and they got denied only once. So the chances are pretty high here. Let Larry and Gary battle it out. And as with any financial instrument that is traded on the open market, there are so many variables that go into it that can affect its price. So at this point, it's clearly uncertain what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin once this Bitcoin spot ETF gets approved. However, there are some reasons to believe that it could lead to the increase in the price of Bitcoin, so let's just cover some of them. And the first one is demand. If there is a huge demand for Bitcoin, it's going to drive the price of Bitcoin up.
Supply and demand, baby!
This is mainly because if the investors want to invest in Bitcoin, they're highly likely going to do this through a Bitcoin ETF, which could increase the demand for Bitcoin. A spot Bitcoin ETF will remove the barriers for investors, and it's going to be easier to buy and sell Bitcoin through a traditional brokerage account. And the reason for that is because not that many people adopt crypto for several reasons. First, because there is a complexity and some tech knowledge that you need to put into it to set up your wallet. Then you need to keep track of your wallet, keep track of your keys, and also there is a fear of losing your wallet. So it's going to be easier with the ETF because there is going to be an ETF fund that's going to do the custody of this Bitcoin for you. And in the meantime, you're going to own ETF shares. So you're not going to be directly owning the Bitcoin, but you're going to be owning the ETF shares, the price of which is going to be closely tracking the price of Bitcoin. So all these investors that want to have exposure to Bitcoin are going to own the ETF shares. So the more investors want to be exposed to the Bitcoin's price action, the more ETF shares are going to be sold, meaning that the authorized participants, the ones that sell and buy Bitcoin to maintain the price of an ETF share compared to the underlying asset, which in our case is Bitcoin, the more buying pressure it's going to create for the Bitcoin, thus raising the price of Bitcoin. The second reason is supply. As we know, Bitcoin's supply is capped at 21 million Bitcoin. And with the reduced supply and the higher demand, that is definitely going to drive the price up, especially once the Bitcoin spot ETF gets approved and more people are going to have access and want to be exposed to the price of Bitcoin. And the third reason is regulation, because regulatory environment affects the price of Bitcoin. But if this spot Bitcoin ETF gets approved, it means that more institutional investors are going to come in with their clients' money, and they might even put their own money in there. And when the big guys come in, you know, the price is going to go up. So now we've covered 3 reasons why this spot Bitcoin ETF is going to drive the price of Bitcoin up, but there are also some positive side effects that don't necessarily affect the price, but they're going to affect the stability of the price of Bitcoin. So let's discuss these. And the first one is going to be increased liquidity. A spot Bitcoin ETF is going to provide a more liquid market for Bitcoin. That's because there is going to be more buyers and sellers on the market, and it's going to make the price of Bitcoin less volatile. There's simply going to be more market participants that hold the Bitcoin. Thus, it's going to make the market more liquid, and there's going to be probably more supply and demand. And the second side effect is going to be reduced volatility. And this all comes down again to more liquidity on the market, because as you know, the more liquid the market is, the less susceptible it is to manipulations. So let's say that we only have 3 Bitcoin holders that hold the whole 21 million, each holding 7 million worth of Bitcoin. If one of them sells their whole Bitcoin, this is going to affect the price negatively, while smaller participants in the market that hold multiple Bitcoins, not everybody wants to sell it at the same time and profit. Some of them might be holding, some of them might be selling, some of them might be buying. But when there is smaller chunks, it affects the price of an asset in a lesser manner than it would be with smaller market participants and holders. And this is how the price of Bitcoin is going to be less volatile if that happens, which in turn might attract more institutional investors because they're more risk averse, because they handle a lot of money, so they're not going to be investing in risky assets. So traditional asset managers, maybe like Charles Schwab or Fidelity, are going to be also participating in Bitcoin, thus driving the price of Bitcoin up. So liquidity and less volatility, which is close tied together, might be one of the causes why the price of Bitcoin is going to go up, because it's kind of a chain reaction. When there's less volatility, there is more institutional investors that want to get in, and the price of Bitcoin is going to get even more stable because it's just going to make the market more liquid. But not everything is rainbows and sunshines when it comes to spot Bitcoin ETF. There are also some risks that are associated with it. So let's cover just 3 of them. So the first one is going to be market manipulation. So once these all big guys are going to get in, they actually have the means to manipulate the market. And that was one of the main reasons why SEC denied all the previous spot Bitcoin ETF applications. And in the rejection of the Winklevoss twins Bitcoin spot ETF back in the day, they also stated that the commission is concerned that the Bitcoin market is not currently sufficiently developed to support the introduction of a Bitcoin ETF. The SEC specifically cited concerns about the lack of transparency and liquidity in the Bitcoin market. And the SEC has also expressed concerns of market manipulation by large institutional investors back in 2019, when the SEC chairman back then, Jake Layton, stated that large financial institutions have the capacity to manipulate the price of Bitcoin through wash trading, spoofing, and other forms of market manipulation. So there you have it. There is also concerns by the SEC that the big institutional investors, once they get their hands on Bitcoin, they have the means to manipulate the market. And the second risk is the regulatory risk. So while this spot Bitcoin ETF might get approved, there's also higher chances that something in the regulatory environment can change in the future that's going to negatively affect the price of Bitcoin. And the third one is going to be the security risk, because the spot Bitcoin ETF is going to be the financial instrument of the traditional market, which means that it's not going to be protected by the security of the blockchain. And hacks happen all the time for the traditional financial markets, so it might negatively affect the price of Bitcoin as well if that hack ever happens. So of course there are risks that are associated with the spot Bitcoin ETF, but it can also be a great catalyst for the crypto market and Bitcoin in particular. And if you want to know my personal opinion, I think that definitely this spot Bitcoin ETF is going to increase the price of Bitcoin, and crypto is not going anywhere, guys. We might even see that $100,000 price per Bitcoin that many people have been talking about. And this is because some older generation that have savings in all of these large asset managers such as Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Blackrock, they're going to have an instrument to get exposure to the Bitcoin's price action. Then if it gets approved, there is also institutional investors that are going to come in with a lot of money, so that when the big guys come in, they come in. And the approval of this Blackrock spot Bitcoin ETF might actually lead to the approval of other spot Bitcoin ETF. Invesco and Wisdom already tagged along with the Blackrock and filed for the spot Bitcoin ETF again. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this informative. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe for more stuff like this. And please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think is going to happen to the Bitcoin price action if and when this Bitcoin spot ETF is going to get approved. And again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on Bitcoin, stocks, and investing. And I'll see you all guys in my next one.